and welcome to this Excel tutorial on data validation. Data validation is a feature in Excel which is used to control what a user can enter into a cell. For example, I have a list of students here and their ages, followed by a status pertaining to whether they have taken a test or not. Okay, so say I only want their ages in whole numbers, without any fractions or decimal points. And that too within a range. Let's say that all students are only aged between 10 and 15. To control this, we have to put validation criteria in place during data entry. To do that, we have this data validation feature in Excel, which can be accessed by clicking on the Data tab, and under Data Tools, you will find the option Data Validation. If you click on the drop-down button, it gives you three particular validation units. One is data validation, another one is circle invalid data, and the third one is clear the validation. So here I want to apply the validation criteria or restrictions for the numbers which can go into this range. For doing this, select the range, go to Data Validation, and then click on the Data Validation option. Then here under Settings, you want to set your validation criteria. By default, Excel allows any kind of value to be entered into a range. So we would need to limit the range here. And we click on the drop-down menu. And our requirement is to have only whole numbers and no decimals. Also, the number range can vary between a minimum of 10 and a maximum of 50. And it can only be a whole number without any decimals whatsoever. So we've set it, and then click OK. And now we have set the validation rules. To check it, let's key in an age which does not lie between 10 and 50. I'm going to type 5 and hit Enter. You see what happens since we've set some validation rules. We will get an error message saying this value doesn't match the data validation restriction defined for this cell. So it asks you to retry and then enter any value which is taken between 10 and 50. Say I'm going to type 15 and hit Enter. The value is accepted. Now let's try to enter some whole numbers with decimals, say 22.5, and you see the same error is occurring due to our validation rules. You can also try text, and the same error appears. The next option is how you can customize your error message or the input message related to data validation. To do this, again open the Validation tab, and then go to the next tab, which is called Input Message. Here you're going to type the message which is going to be shown whenever the cell is selected. So let me type, enter only a whole number. You can also type a sub-message saying, for example, 1, 2, and so on. So I have given a message for this validation along with the title. Now click OK. And now you can see only by clicking on the cell that this validation message appears, where it clearly asks me to enter only whole numbers like 1, 2, and 3. So this kind of input message will instruct the user to give the correct input when entering data so as to avoid errors. Now let's look at the next one. Let me first select a range here and say I want to display a customized message to a user if they are trying to edit a cell in which we do not want them to enter data. So for doing this, hit the Data Validation tab, and again go to Data Validation. Here you're going to find a third tab. Sorry, let me just ignore this and select the range again. There is the third tab called Error Alert. So here we can give a customized error message or alert if the user happens to have entered data which is invalid. And you can show this with a stop icon or a warning icon or an information icon, depending on your data and personal choice. So I'm going to choose Stop here, and the title can be You Have Not Entered a Whole Number. Whole number. It doesn't fit, and the error message would be, Please enter only whole numbers, and click OK. So let's see what happens when I input an invalid entry, like 3.4. And now my customized message is appearing here with the title and text that I had asked it to display. So this way you can create your own customized error messages, which can be understood very easily. Now let's move to the next option, which is circling invalid data. What it does is whatever data which does not fit into your data validation criteria, that is data which is invalid. This option marks such invalid data by circling it. So let me show you. Click it, and you can see all the data is circled because we had given the range as 10 to 50, and that it should be a whole number. And all the circled data is invalid because it doesn't meet our criteria. So in this way, you can easily point out invalid data very effectively. To clear this again, go to Data Validation, and under the Data tab, and click Clear Validation Circles. And now it's gone. Lastly, let's see how to create a data validation drop-down menu to get the status of whether a student has taken the test or not. For that, let me take the drop-down inputs as taken and not taken. Okay, let this stay here. And now I have to select the range, and then go to the Data Validation tab. Click Data Validation, and I would want to select validation criteria as a list, which means a drop-down box. And then I will select the source for what items will appear on the drop-down list. So I have both my items here. So select it, and then click OK. And now you can see the data has a drop-down box. Click the arrow, and you will get the options either taken or not taken. Again, since the drop-down is data validated, if you type any other input, it will show you an error. So these are some of the most useful data validation options in Excel. Thank you for watching. We will catch you in the next video.